The shocking Doomsday maps of the world and the Billionaire escape plans. This was written by contributor Jim Dobson. Now, we're going to go ahead and pan down here, and this may shake a few people up. But ladies and gentlemen, this is reality. I don't know if too many of you are familiar with these maps that have come out by Edgar Cayce and Mr. Michael Scallion. But these are showing you maps of what the United States would look like as predicted in Dreams by Edgar Cayce and also this Michael Scallion. You can see the entire West Coast completely inundated, destroyed, underwater. The Mississippi River widened by over 100 miles, stretching and connecting all the way to the Great Lakes. Total devastation. An island forming off of the east coast of the United States. But getting into this article, and that is what's important. His article reads, when I first wrote this article on billionaire bunkers years ago, I never would have imagined how quickly our world was changing. Our lives are in a constant state of flux. The political situation aside, our Earth is rapidly changing. Between the increase of bizarre weather patterns hitting the Earth and recent major volcanic activity, now more than ever, our focus is on our planet's future. Now, the rest of the article goes into talking about this Mr. Michael Scallion, and he is a futuristic teacher and studies this consciousness and metaphysics and spirituality and visionaries of the mind. Very interesting gentleman. I've read about him before. But moving down into this article, and this is where it gets, well, let's just say that it gets a little mind-consuming. And it is also very unnerving. But Scallion states and writes about a pole shift. And I'll go ahead and read this to you. Scallion believed that a pole shift would stem from a global warming nuclear activity and the misuse of technology. Another theorist and psychic, Edgar Cayce, predicted a 16 to 20 degree shift in our poles, while Scallion predicted a 25 to 45 degree shift. Cayce predicted that when both Mount Etna volcano in Italy and Mount Pelée in Martinique erupt together, there will be approximately 90 days to evacuate the West Coast before the massive flood claims the entire coastline. I've read both of these gentlemen's material. I've read Edgar Cayce's material many, many times. Moving into the next phase, it says, but the most compelling argument is that an asteroid or comet collision with Earth could cause the entire planet to shift its axis of rotation. Now, just yesterday we had our live stream with our physicist, and we were talking about asteroids, comets, and meteors, and the damage that they do. Panning down in the article from Forbes, this gets a little interesting. It says, according to a NASA report, many doomsday theorists have tried to take this natural geological occurrence and suggest it could lead to Earth's destruction. But would there be any dramatic effects? The answer from geologic and fossil records we have from hundreds of past magnetic polarity reversals seems to be no. There is nothing in the millions of years of geologic record to suggest that any of the doomsday scenarios connected to a pole reversal, should be taken seriously. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, smoke and mirrors with NASA, because we are really, we're really not talking about a geologic pole shift. Because the bottom line is, if we are hit by a massive asteroid, the last thing in the world that we're going to be worrying about is a geologic pole shift. Now, a magnetic polarity reversal situation seems to be occurring already. In the theories of Nemesis and Nibiru and Planet X, it does talk about a pole shift. Whether or not that will happen, that is something that we will have to see in the future. We do know that our Earth is wobbling intensely, creating wild weather all around the world. That much we know, and we are experiencing as we speak. This gentleman had the opportunity to go to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena. And there he was speaking to one of the principal investigators and scientists, a lady by the name of Amy Mainzer, and she is directly affiliated with the NEOWISE program. And moving on down into the article, said the mission has discovered 250 new objects, including 72 near-Earth objects and 4 new comets. They have the task of documenting potentially hazardous near-Earth objects. That's the JPL. You'll hear me refer to that frequently. Now, going on into this information, this talks about NASA's asteroid watch and their impact chart in the website that they've developed. Talks a little bit about things that occurred with NASA during the Obama administration. Just a lot of politics right here. But then going into these billionaires, this is what I find super fishy. With all of this knowledge of future mapping, do the world's financial leaders know something we don't? Consider how many of the richest families have been grabbing up massive amounts of farmland around the world, all property far away from coastal areas and in locations conducive to self-survival, farming, and coal mining. It appears that dry territories in the United States, such as Montana, New Mexico, Wyoming, Texas, are all very popular regions for the wealthiest individual. Billionaires such as John Malone, currently the largest landowner in America, owns 2.2 million acres, including Wyoming and Colorado. Ted Turner, 2 million acres in Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, North Dakota. Philip Anschwartz, 434,000 acres in Wyoming. Amazon's Jeff Bezos, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly there, Jeff, 400,000 acres in Texas, and on and on. This gentleman here owns 225,000 acres in Montana. All have amassed major land. Upon further research, many billionaires are preparing for future escape plans with vacation homes in remote locations. Many of them also have their private planes ready to depart at a moment's notice. Even a wealthier member of the Mormon Church, Mr. David Hall, reportedly has plans for a 20,000 person self-sustained community. They're going to be calling it New Vista. This will be in Vermont. It will include the purchase of a 900-acre farmland. Once again, the community will be called New Vistas. Then it goes down into talking about internationally. Moguls in Australia and New Zealand have been snapping up farmland at record paces. The interest in cattle, dairy, and agricultural farms are all proving tempting for self-sustained survival. But more importantly, The wealthy are preparing for safe escape havens, stockpiling real estate in dry areas, and moving away from the old school approach of storing food and water. Money and precious metals will be useless, as self-sustainable territory will become the new necessary luxury. Many have installed helipads for their helicopters on their properties for easy access, and many are buying up silos and bunkers around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to be fooled by what these billionaires are doing. I've been paying very, very close attention to this material for quite a long time. This map that you're looking at here was Scallion's rendition of Africa. Africa basically turns into a long set of islands, ocean, more islands. You can see what it's going to look like. And this goes on, and it talks about the entire world. I mean, some of these areas, ladies and gentlemen, are not even recognizable. This would be parts of Eastern Europe, Russia, all of these areas, Japan. These are all gone. These are history. They're underwater. Moving down into Asia, you can see the highlighted areas that are highlighted in white. That used to be land masses. They're gone. Antarctica. We know all about Antarctica. We know what they're doing down there. But you can see there will be some loss, but the majority of the Antarctica stays intact. And it looks like a new landmass appears. Australia, New Zealand, a lot of these areas, ladies and gentlemen, will change just like the rest of the world. And it goes on, talking about the different areas of the world and how they will be changing according to Scallion. The United States will suffer greatly. The entire west coast of the United States will disappear. Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, inundated with water, basically becoming one massive inlet. The Mississippi River, as I mentioned, widens over 100 to 150 miles wide at some points, connecting with all of the Great Lakes and parts of Canada. A newly forming island off of the southeast coast of the United States. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we've always said before, the threat is definitely real. There is no doubt about that. Whether it will be Planet X, a brown dwarf star, an asteroid, a meteor, a comet. The billionaires around the world, the elite, are preparing for something. They've been preparing for many, many years. That much is a fact. This is the depiction of South America. Brazil retains the majority of its landmass. However, there will be a massive water inlet here. All coastal countries along the coast of South America will be swallowed up. The mountains will be the safest place, as you can see, moving all the way down through the Andes into Argentina. Most of Chile along the coast will be gone. So, ladies and gentlemen, they've been planning this for quite some time. The fact of the matter is, they could be prepared. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess. The fact of the matter is, we need to be prepared. We, as the common people, the common man and woman.